Hey everybody, it's post SDCC, and that means you're here with X's for Show, where we can't wait to talk about all the best news from this weekend. Looking back with a big, strong recap. Can't wait. Check the show out at X's for Show. I'm Nico. You can check me out at Nico Action, NICOACTION.
I'm TK. You can check me out at TK Elemental.
That makes me your producer, Kevo. You can find me at Kevo Really. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment so that we know what you want us to cover in the future. As for today, yeah, I am super stoked. There wasn't an enormous abundance of news from this weekend, but the things that we got were certainly generally pretty big.
And I'm pretty excited. Let's talk about the big one. Let's talk about what's, on the big docket first. I just want to say my favorite announcement from this weekend was probably just the number of celebrities that were there having a good time, the number of people who are in Deadpool and Wolverine who showed up. I think that was really fun.
Hold on. That's your favorite thing that happened this weekend. And I love that. That's probably mine too. That's not your favorite announcement. That's not an announcement. What's your favorite announcement? Things got announced.
Okay. I think I'm probably most excited about that weird, we'll talk about it, that weird upcoming interactive Pick Your Own Destiny TV show coming from DC.
Cool.
That interactive web TV show. It's very exciting.
Yeah, DC had a great showing. Mine absolutely was the announcement of Thor and Jeff from Marvel Rivals, because I immediately got on Saturday and started playing as Jeff. He is my new favorite character. He will take me to professional Marvel Rivals player stratosphere. That's a joke, but I want to believe it's true. But that was really cool. For me, on top of the fact that it was just I'm enjoying the beta and I had a lot of fun, I've had a lot of fun playing, that they timed it out so that the beta would come at the time of SDCC and they could put two characters in the game that they announced at Comic-Con, to me was just a really smart momentum builder and energy builder, and just a cute little, people are already stoked about this game. They're stoked to be playing and trying it out, but doing kind of a one more thing to the grand audience with this announcement and having it go live right then was, to me, super smart. And that was really kind of the most exciting part.
Nice.
How about for you, Kevo? What was your big announcement?
I think that my big thing this weekend was a very exciting future casting announcement, but not the one you think. We got more news about guest stars that will be appearing on Starfleet Academy, which is an upcoming Star Trek spinoff. And I think I am super stoked. There are names that we hoped would be there, and there are names that are shocking. So, a lot of really fun Star Trek news that I'm very excited for us to get into, among all of our other things.
And it really is a lot of things we're going to be covering today. So we've got a heavy docket, but I want to start with where everybody's kind of expecting us to start based on our show. Let's start with Marvel. I think it's up there. So let's get him up and get him out. Let's do the thing, right? Oh. I'm excited for three reasons about this, and I'm hesitant for three reasons, and they're all the same kind of mirror. I love what this does in terms of giving us a really excellent, exquisite opportunity to reflect the earlier three phases, which is actually something comics do all the time. Trilogies reflecting trilogies, with Doomsday having been announced, leading into Secret Wars, replacing the previously announced Kang Dynasty. Why I love this, I love that we're just kind of not dealing with Kang. No matter what decision they made, it was going to be a bad one at this point. I'm glad we're just not dealing with Kang. Where I'm a little nervous is I'm kind of frustrated that we're not dealing with Jonathan Majors. I wish we could just kind of even be yes, we made the decision to step back from this actor, but we can't. So that's my first. I'm going to stop there for a minute. I think, because we're all going to be going back and forth on this for a couple months. So I'm going to stop there with, I love that this gets us out of the Kang hole. Anybody else was a little concerned about the K hole?
Yeah.
I wasn't
being stuck there.
Yeah, I wasn't actually concerned because it was just I would have been concerned. I'm concerned about what's going on in the Neil Gaiman corner of the universe right now because that is very much in flux, and I think a lot of companies that work with him don't know what they're going to do. And that concerns me because he has created a lot of stuff that I love and that has actors and people that I love regardless of him. So like, that's an example of one where I'm like, I'm concerned. Are we going to get all of the seasons of Sandman? Should we get them in the first place? Et cetera, et cetera. With Jonathan Majors, it was kind of like, okay, we're definitely not doing this. So like, I wasn't even concerned. I was interested to hear what they did. And I could absolutely see ways in which it could have gone just horribly.
And that's why I even added fear of being stuck, because I definitely see a fear of how they were going to get out of it. But like we even have talked on our previous coverage, they had ways, and so I'm really I'm glad it's not going to be a super concern. It seems.
You know, Kevo, where are you at with the Kangosity of it? Are you firmly in Camp T Kang, or are you a little? We're in the same camp, but
it's, you know, like I said, we've talked in the past about ways that they can just sort of blow past it. I saw someone tweeting earlier with a few images of like Kang and storyteller Loki, and like, well, what was all this for then? What it was for is you're reading stories. Like, comic books are story worlds that are ongoing. It's not always,
it's cardboard.
Yeah, it's cardstock, it's books, it's a universe that's existed for 60 plus years, and they're mining stories from that. And the idea is this is going to be a multimedia universe that can hopefully sustain for a long while. And, you know, I would have been interested to see what the fruition was going to be originally for a lot of that. But, you know, that happens sometimes in comic books too, where a writer is fired or has to take off for something else, and things change and stories change. And it wasn't necessarily the most soft of landings, but I think there's plenty of stuff there that will make it a good landing.
And speaking of landing, I want to say my number 2 good bad. I can't wait to see a increased in power, probably cosmic Spider-Man, Tom Holland, have to fight an all doom. Like, I think really that is a beautiful synergy, but I do have some concerns that it's not going to give as good as it gets, maybe. But I'm very excited. I'm also very nervous and think this could be an epic flop. I was talking to Kevo the other day about it, and I was thinking about how Green Day really, and it wasn't my album. It was certainly not my album, but American Idiot, A Generation of People, that is their record. And the follow-up, 21st Century Giant Flop, is it's just the Full House theme song for 18 tracks. So not at all true, but it was a much less successful record. And I have some concerns about trying to recapture this, not going so good. But guys, what do you think about the idea of the synergy, the balance? I got the balance.
I'm ready unless you wanted to go first.
Go for it.
I have a visual aid that I will be using that I have 4 very good reasons that were given in Deadpool this past week that I really enjoy this idea, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And it is specifically these 4 characters. And that specifically includes the Wolverine used in this movie. I should have said spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine before this, but obviously we're talking about SDCC. They've talked about spoilers, so I'm sorry for not saying it before. But yeah, they had a lot. They had almost all of these actors at SDCC this weekend, which was amazing considering how many of those cameos they kept quiet.
Ultimately, they couldn't get Henry Cavill because he was too busy playing Warhammer.
That makes sense.
But he was at SDCC. He was at SDCC. He was just playing Warhammer. Didn't want to get up, so.
And so we all understand. That's just Henry. These iterations of each of these characters, the fact that this Wolverine that we finally saw in the yellow costume was not ours. The fact that we saw Chris Evans return as Johnny Storm and they hung a lantern on the fact that he's Captain America. The deep cut of the Gambit movie that almost happened with Channing Tatum, and even referencing just fan wish fulfillment with Henry Cavill. I love that we are playing with that concept of multiverse. We have so many things we can do with that, and the Infinity Saga was such an amazing experiment in like just serialized filmmaking. The meta storytelling that we can do with this concept by bringing in someone like Robert Downey Jr. to play a big villain. I hope he's not the sole focus. I hope there's a lot of stuff, but I've been talking, and I talked at the end of our Deadpool coverage about how I really hope Secret Wars is a multiversal Avengers, and it can be faces that can be brought back without having to undo deaths. It can be introducing characters that we've never seen before without having to do a whole lengthy backstory introduction. And so that's what has me excited. Stephen McFeely is back writing the script. Now I'm nervous again. I absolutely, completely see where there are ways where I am very nervous about the execution, but the concept and idea, I think this is the most exciting thing that they have come up with in a while.
All right, so it's so incredible because I didn't realize that satellites reached Cynicville, but here I'm just being silly. I'm whatever reason you are going to provide, I'm sure it's fair, but you actually kind of did like a bit of a saucy reaction initially.
Yeah, I hate this. I think this is horrible. I hate this idea. I hate that the Russo brothers are back. I want to be very clear here. I hate the idea, and I hate that this is the direction they've gone in. I have no idea if these movies will be good. I could absolutely say in 2 and 3 years, really hated the idea, but man, they pulled it off. And I'm seeing so many people just immediately say these movies are going to be terrible. This is going to be terrible. And I really do draw a line. This is not at all the direction I would have gone in. And it is not because I don't think it can't be interesting. It is because I believe that it shows a lack of innovation, a lot of fear and weakness, and that these movies are now being written to appease the shareholders in a weird way. Like before it was, let's innovate and make the best possible product because that will get us money and that shall please the shareholders. And now it is, let us not rock the boat and do anything risky. What are the surest things we can do? What happens when the Russo brothers die, man? Who's going to make the great epic Marvel movies then?
I actually want to ask you an additional question on that, just to layer into your response. Yeah. Please find me the Russo brothers' success story since Endgame.
Yeah,
they had.
That's my bigger problem with all this, and it's not just
nobody will
the Russo
ever
brothers.
Yeah,
it's the whole cinematic lineup. I feel absolutely, and I completely agree. It's too many of the same writers over and over again. We make fun of Ant-Man a lot for how it fell apart, but we're not pointing to the fact that Peyton Reed directed all three. Why are we going back to the same well? Why is Eric Pearson, who wrote Black Widow, which was not excessively popular, why is he writing Blade? Why do we keep bringing back these same people? Yeah, no, there's a lot to it. Ooh, Michael Waldron actually is also going to be co-writing Secret Wars and Doomsday. I just am seeing it's updated, which is not necessarily amazing new. Yeah, it changes the equation at least slightly. I have been saying I want to see the Russos work with other writers. That's not what this is.
Yeah. I really feel like Kevin Feige created this amazing thing by nurturing talent and taking risks. And he is now seems to be very scared about taking risks. And it's a weird thing because I'm not naive. I do understand that from their perspective, financially, things like Eternals, Black Widow, Marvel's failed financially. I think those are three of my favorites. I think those are three of the best. I think those are three that made me really excited. She-Hulk made me really excited. Ms. Marvel made me really excited. And I just the refrain of we'll talk about Captain America more in a second, but that they kept saying like we're going back to more grounded stuff. It just felt like, don't worry, normals, like we're gonna stop letting you down.
Yeah.
And this just really felt like the cap on that, where it was like, we're gonna give you more of the same, so you no longer have to worry.
So that's are you? I don't want to cut you off. Were you?
No,
I
you're
want
good. You're good. Go.
I want to spring to my third point,
Yeah.
which is the reason I love this is because this is the bravest and safest thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
And the reason it is literally the bravest thing they've ever done is because nobody ever did a Wizard of Oz remake casting Judy Garland as the Wicked Witch. And that's actually a huge staple of Broadway. You play Elphaba until you're old enough to play Madame Morrible. You play these roles until you're too old. And then you play the next amazing role. And then the next amazing role. And like, I genuinely believe in my heart because I'm going to put it this way. They're giving this franchise to two washed up directors, half of a washed up writing team, an actor who's had an art piece success in the last few years, and not a lot since he jumped ship from a franchise that has frankly gone on to have 3 and 5 of the most successful movies of the year in the years since he left. So it sounds to me like they gave a bunch of washed up has-beens a chance to pilot a sinking ship. And that's not the bravest thing I've ever heard. But what is kind of brave is casting Sherlock as the next Moriarty and forcing everyone in the vacuum of Baker Street to solve the mystery. And it makes me question the boundaries. And side note, the other thing it does is they flat out said that we're not going to see most of the 4 or 5 phase characters. They introduced like 67 characters in those 2 phases, and you want to see the 108 from the first 3. Yeah, that's how the next generation is going to get their Avengers movie, led by Shang-Chi and Katie, because that's going to be what the next generation is obsessed with. So that's my take. What do you guys think about the the has-beens? Robert Downey Jr. What's he got, an Oscar? Who's Oscar?
I think the one thing that I find myself flustered by, which is just across all fandom in general, is the absolute impatience and inability to wait and see on something. I think the lesson that we took away from Deadpool this past weekend was how many things we didn't know were going to be in that, how many cameos were surprises, and how many things were reported on to obfuscate from things that were able to be surprised. We don't know that he's not going to be playing Doctor Doom for 10 minutes and get killed, and there's an even bigger cameo waiting. There might not be. It might be entirely straightforward, but especially with how everything is up in the air, I think I just want to know more before I am rushing to worry, especially because I am really thrilled by how quick the turnaround time seems to be. 2027, good luck, don't fuck it up. 3 years is a lot better than the 7 years we had to wait for the end of the Infinity Saga from the end of Avengers. This is more that comparable time from the beginning of the Multiverse Saga to the end, but there was a lot of weird stuff at the beginning of this saga, and I want everyone to remember that. There was a year and a half where they couldn't release anything. Oops. So, like I said, at least we don't have to wait too long. So that's good news.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree. I'm waiting and seeing. Like I said, I hate this, but I'm not saying the movies are going to be bad, and I'm not worried. I am just, this is not what I would do. And and that's all anybody can say. If you hate it, totally, but you can't sit there and go, the movie's definitely going to be bad. Because here's the other thing I'll say is I definitely, on the flip side of things, ultimately, really stepping back and thinking about it, just said Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine will be perfect. And it wasn't. It was not as good as I thought it was going to be, put it that way. And I spent the whole time doing the opposite and just hyping it up and saying it was going to be absolutely flawless. And it wasn't. It was really great, and I'm going to go see it again, and it's a high up there one for me, but it was not as perfect as I made it in my mind. And there were so many they're doing it this way, so this is the best decision and it's going to turn out the best way. And a lot of it kind of didn't to me. And in that same vein, I think this is the worst decision, but I'm not going to say that it's going to turn out in the worst way. I am now going to let that go and let them work, because they're not going to call me and be like, did we do the right thing? Should we switch it up? And given that, I'm just going to chill, and everybody else really needs to do the same.
What I really hope that they do, genuinely, it's so stupid and it's not gonna happen, but yeah. I really hope they re-release Deadpool with an extra 3 minutes of footage, and it's something very cool, very multiversal. It ends with Doom taking off his mask. It's one shot of his fucking face superimposed onto a body double standing in the suit. Just get people back to that theater, get them to buy one more ticket, because you know what? Some of it is the clout game. Avatar 2, Titanic, do you know how they have so many dollars as is? It's because they have more roadshow re-releases than Fantasia. And that is extraordinary. And that's a very obscure RKO joke. And you're all very welcome. So
opening up the box office.
Well, and I give them credit. That is some unique thinking, because ultimately James Cameron was really firm on the fact that that movie needs to be seen in theaters, that that's the experience you're supposed to have, and that he's willing to go to bat for getting people back to the theater rather than creating more in the universe that is maybe lower quality. And there's a feeling to me like, I kind of wish Marvel could figure out what their thing is, that is James Cameron understanding that Avatar needs to be seen in theaters. And ultimately they might have figured it out. Ultimately what it might be for like the most people to spend the most money is just keeping them in their comfort zone. That's not going to work for me, but I don't make up all of the $30 billion that this franchise rakes in, so I shan't be expecting that to guide the decision.
I just want to say, whatever mutant growth hormone that Ryan Reynolds has slowly been applying to his body over the years, he has become quite a big, solid gentleman. Something that a lot of these other actors that play these superhero roles do is they balloon and shrink in size. Ryan Reynolds seems to stay...
he stay big.
He stays Rob McElhenney competitive, I guess, because they're so busy soccer balling or whatever. It's just really great to see all of these people on stage celebrating this extraordinary achievement in cinema, because that's what it is. This is like, we talk sometimes about like the two sides of everything. If there's We Are the World, then there's also He Needs a Kidney. And I feel like this is the Deadpool Secret Wars to Endgame Secret Wars, which is not Secret Wars. So it's just really funny. And I'm so incredibly positive. One more time, Jennifer Garner made a very brave decision here. She was really looked at as like, oh, not famous enough to be treated like Halle Berry for Catwoman, for Elektra. And I really think the beautiful thing she did here was she chose to come back and have a good time. I think it's incredible that Chris Evans is just on that stage as someone, not Captain America, and he's excited about it. And I think the fact that Hugh Jackman is always dressed like my dream English teacher bottom experience is like, I'm a student who needs to stay after, professor. Do you want to teach me about books? Oh yeah, mate. I'll do so. No. This outfit right here.
That would make you that clip of that time that he was on a press line and he ran into this reporter. Yep. And the guy didn't realize Hugh recognized him from when Hugh was his gym teacher. So your fantasy is real.
Oh, God. He is just... I understand he has greatly aged since those early stills they show at the end of Deadpool, but there is something about a man who is willing to age into an action hero, perhaps the way Sylvester Stallone has instead decided to absorb smaller beings into his chest. I'm just really, I don't know. I'm excited. Hugh Jackman, you are Wolverine, sir. Thank you. All right. Anything left on what's Fantastic Four called? Bad mistake title.
The First Steps, the Fantastic Four First Steps, which I kind of wonder if that's a Franklin reference.
I said that too.
Yeah.
Debo actually said, what if it involves their kids? And
Yeah.
what if we do get Valeria here? The way I would do it, this is so stupid, but I would really love to see somebody do a parallel story where there's like two universes and they're each raising a Valeria. Like one has a Valeria and one has a Franklin, and somehow multiverse fuses together and now they have both kids. And then that's how Franklin's got all those weird powers.
Yeah.
Done. But I don't know. Pedro Pascal is the most beautiful man alive, but I don't know.
We do have confirmed that this is not going to be our Earth, and it is a retro future 1960s alternate universe. So again, I really think this is all leading up to what we all hoped Multiverse of Madness was going to be, and instead Multiverse of Madness was just the multiverse exists. This is it.
Yeah, I mean, it's called Secret Wars. So I suspect we're getting, Doomsday is I don't know. It's very clearly multiversal, and this will be fun. This will be fine.
Fine.
I have nothing to say about it.
And if it's not fun, Harrison smash.
This is the guy who's like, fuck. I don't want to hear shit about Joe Biden for the rest of the year.
Harrison Ford.
I don't want to hear shit about Joe Biden for the rest of the year when the guy who doesn't think Han Solo is cool enough to play anymore is running around the stage. This is the gentleman who was so drunk, he was the dumber one between him and Josh Hartnett on stage.
Get off my plane! Who's so drunk.
I'm not even going to see this movie except for the hot, sexy Falcon boy.
I forgot Tim Blake Nelson is in this movie. He is not at all in the trailer, and I'm going to say that is the coolest thing I have realized about this movie in a while. As we were watching the trailer before Deadpool and Wolverine, I was like, stop. I don't want to watch it again. I'm going to go to this movie, and I might even enjoy it, but I just want to go see it. I don't want to keep hearing about it. So remembering that Leader's going to be in it was a cool surprise memory.
Yeah. Real bummer that we're wasting Giancarlo Esposito on Sidewinder.
Oh my God. It was so much better when he was Lincoln Tunnel.
I do not appreciate what
that
you're
would
saying.
Still be better.
I do think GW Bridge would be better because that would lead to a Cable and Six Pack movie. So go fuck yourself.
I was on it. I was just making fun of how stupid Rob Liefeld named that character.
Oh, okay, fair, good, okay. I'm weirdly protective of I'm weirdly protective of GW Bridge, especially after our amazing Spider-Girl coverage because he is the president. Anyway, I don't care at all about this movie. This will probably be the first Marvel movie that I don't go see in theaters immediately. I'll go see it in theaters, but this will not be one that I am screaming at Adam tickets. Why won't you let me get the first tickets fully available?
It's going to be February. It's cold. You're not rushing to the movie theater.
Exactly. I don't care for grounded Marvel movies. I don't know. Whatever. Let's go guns. But I am excited about Tim Blake Nelson. He's one of my favorite parts of the Watchmen series as well.
Speaking of movies we don't care about and guns, the only other thing to report from Marvel is the Thunderbolts showed up.
Yeah.
Movie's coming.
I'm telling you that asterisk is going to be Deadpool or something stupid and weird.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll care about that.
It's going to be something there is no room in this movie for.
I'll care when that happens, and until then, I'm good.
Ooh, those are sexy.
Right? What we got next?
Let's go to some comics because I have some opinions about some things that I want to bite this microphone. I want to be clear. If there is one woman I trust with every bloody, fucked up, weird book in the entirety of the Marvel universe right now, it's Erica Schultz, who is ready to gut you, fuck the guts, and then make a really gripping emotional story between two women about it. And like that's her MO, and she's amazing at it. And But why is she writing Laura too? Unless this is why Bellona was in Gang War all along, and this is a long haul, and Marvel actually had a plan to give a woman an opportunity to create a master run.
I think it is not quite that, but it is not just completely accidental.
Please just let her be the comic book Margaret Mitchell for one goddamn second.
I would like it, and I think we should constantly be talking about it and encouraging it. And I think, it's... I don't think this is Steve Fox getting 2099 endless miniseries to do whatever he wants with.
2099 miniseries.
Yes, exactly. But I do think she clearly has a plan. She clearly has a focus and a plan and characters she likes and is good at writing. And I am trusting her on that. And then I'm trying to figure out how best to encourage Marvel to keep it up with her. Because...
Don't put Liefeld on covers.
Well, there's that. Yeah. They can't with Laura because a central part of her power is her feet. But...
His feet tonight!
But yeah, this is my second favorite of these announcements. Because the first is... Well, go ahead.
I was about to say, it is my third, but I hear
Okay.
you.
My first is, of course, that...
Oh, I'm sorry. It is my second. I have it backward. I'm sorry. Yes, same.
Yeah.
But your first is my third.
Okay, then what's your first?
We'll get to it.
Okay. My first is Alyssa Wong writing Psylocke. That at least, this and that allay some of my problems with how many men are involved in writing all of this, period. And then especially stories featuring women. This announcement cycle probably did not go the way I would have liked for it to go. Jason Lowe, another one of my favorite writers, has written so much stuff that I like. I really do not like having negative feelings anywhere in the orbit of a book that he is writing. And my only problem with Dazzler is when it was announced, it was just so many men writing women's books when there just aren't enough women writing at all, let alone getting to write women's books. We do have a black man writing Storm, but again, it's a man, and there are phenomenal black women writers who just don't get the same opportunities. So anyway, Alyssa Wong, who is non-binary, writing Psylocke is to me kind of the best possible outcome for that. And now the balance feels a little less frustrating. Weird that we're at a place where a little less frustrating is kind of my relief when it comes to Marvel Comics and their announcements, but here we are.
Well, listen, if anything could ever make me be like, oh, no, I'd let that comic book announcement peg me, it would be that Gail Simone is the first regular female writer. And I don't mean that like we've had some weird-ass women writing Uncanny. I mean, she is the first ever writer of Uncanny to be the status ongoing writer that is not a male-identifying person.
Oh.
That is just really important to say because I'm really looking forward to 3 or 4 years from now Alyssa Wong's unforgettable writer stint on Uncanny, and then we get to talk about how incredible it was a non-binary person wrote it. But if I'm going to say something could outdo the amazing that is Alyssa's Psylocke, it would be, did you read the press announcement that goes with my precious Joe Kelly getting Amazing Spider-Man? So, first of all, it is definitely a setup for Secret War. The plot of this book is the Sorcerer Supreme of multiple realities, Doom, gives Spider-Man a super cool new mystical suit. And it's nuts. It is so cool, so weird. I am so obsessed with Ed McGuinness. When I first got into getting big, I want Ed McGuinness arms. Like that's the goal. And he's so cool and he makes everything look so exciting and so engaging. And so I'm really excited. One of the things that I'm really excited about is I tend to find you can get really good stuff out of a movie by forcing the comics to do something like it, or you can get something really good out of a comic by forcing the comic to do something like the movie. One of them's going to not be demoting Chip to the Justice Pets or whatever that they did. Guys, that's so insane. He is a literal Green Lantern. He's not like a squirrel that gets a ring. In his world of squirrel people, he is the Green Lantern. And then DC goes and does a Super Pets movie, and they're just like, oh, it's a squirrel with a ring. That is insane. Anyway, I have a lot of feels. But I love this. This is my every fucking thing. This is so cool. This sounds like such an engaging series. And the plot is, and I quote, the 8 deaths of Spider-Man begin. The world has changed. Dr. Doom is Sorcerer Supreme, but has no plans to spend his time like his predecessor. Each year, Doctor Strange would use every ounce of his power and experience to save the world from an evil god and his scions. This year, Doom is delegating this task to Spider-Man. The leader of Latveria has given Spider-Man a new magic-powered suit and 8 extra lives to save the world. This might as well be written for me. Like, this is so awesome. Joe Kelly gets my fandom. I'm thrilled.
Yeah. I'm totally stoked. I think it's going to be really fun. Just because it would not be appropriate for me to discuss any piece of news without bringing something really cunty and negative to it. I hate this Doom shit that we're doing. It starts tomorrow or this week with
Doom does not care.
Yeah, it starts this week with Blood Hunt coming to an end and Doom. It sounds like a big plot in a bunch of the series, which again, it's kind of too big a plot because most of it's happening in Strange Academy, which I'm reading because I'm obsessed with, but I can't get anybody else to read. In that book, Doom is making his play to become Sorcerer Supreme, which I believe he will ultimately do, and then we will in a few months go into One World Under Doom, which again, I can't stress enough. Doom in 2015 was the ultimate power in all of reality. The Omniverse itself had shut down, and the only thing that was left was Doom's power. Doom was literally the largest power in the universe. He had the power of the Beyonders. He might as well have incarnated out of the book and started running the offices at Marvel. And so to be like, One World Under Doom, guys, can you believe it? He's running the world. It's just a little less sexy today.
Think about the Hickman Doom one shot. They were telling us this was coming.
Yeah.
The Hickman Doom one shot. I wonder if the reason there's no writer attached is because originally it was going to be Hickman, and maybe they're not sure at the moment after Gods. I wonder if Gods was supposed to lead into this.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then you have to wonder how many Marvel plans failed now.
Yeah.
How many things were supposed to be in Gods 13
that
are going to have to be in Doom Force 12.
Yeah. I get where they're coming from now. They knew a hot minute ago that they were doing this Robert Downey Jr. announcement and they wanted to do some Doom hype. I get it. I just think, again, when you have told your audience, we made this guy the biggest god we could ever possibly make him, it's not that you can't do One World Under Doom. It's that you have to figure out a way to sell it to me where I'm not going to go, right, but I literally have already seen him wield the power of all of creation. And then lose it because he got butthurt that his wife will never love him because she will always love Reed Richards. But in truth, she'll always love Namor.
Well, who hasn't gotten a little too twisted at the bathhouse at the gay campsite and thought they, in fact, held all of the power of creation?
I mean, that's a way to do the announcement to make it a little more interesting. I like where your head's at. Don't like where their head's at. So all that said,
I did not like where my head was at that moment.
I understand. I think that makes a lot of sense. All of that said, I love when there is something that I don't like and that really frustrates me, but out of it, there's this side thing that I think is really cool, particularly when it's like Joe Kelly is kind of untainted by the frustrations I have with a lot of Marvel editorial and creative. He's not in a lot of those frustrations are with writers that I love, but I'm frustrated with how they're treated in the books that they get and what they do. Joe Kelly kind of swoops in, does a sexy, a tight 8 to 12 and then heads out. And that seems to be what we're getting here.
Again, you're talking about the bathhouse again, a tight 8 to 12 and out.
There you go. J. Michael Straczynski with Cap, same thing. Like J. Michael Straczynski not hanging out at the Marvel offices, not getting abused, not having amazing works treated like shit, not being promised that he'll get the next big thing and then nothing happens with it, and I invest in it and then nothing happens with it. Swings in, does a, it's probably 12 on Captain America, maybe a little more, and then he's out. The same thing here. I do think it's a cool concept. I think the concept of Doom delegating a task to Spider-Man is very funny. No matter what, that's hilarious. I don't like it in the context of this other stuff, but that's okay. I'll worry about the other stuff separately and just enjoy this. I think this is a really interesting thing to do directly after this very long run of Amazing Spider-Man with Zeb Wells on it. And I really can't wait to see what we're doing after this.
In that same vein, I'm probably not excited about One Reign Under Doom until we get a little bit more about who's on it, what it's doing. It's hard to get excited. But we've got a couple of other announcements that are exciting, in addition to the Laura Kinney Wolverine, Psylocke, One World Under Doom, Amazing Spider-Man 61 and 62, which we've already talked about. I do want to put on the table that Spider-Boy 12 and Deadpool 7 both feature two really exciting concepts. We have our female Deadpool taking over in Deadpool 7, and we have a new Spider-Girl in Spider-Boy 12. I want to say that I think these are both dynamically worrisome ideas. They both feel like not the right moment for either thing. I don't think the death of Deadpool is the moment to write in Deadpool's daughter, Deadpool. I don't think this thing going on with Spider-Boy is going over well with fans. I don't know. I think these are going to be really great characters and really cool stories, but I feel like a bitchy media, and by that I mean social, is making it a little difficult to push cool new ideas for characters in a period of time where people are immediately backlashable.
Yeah, I love that Cody Ziegler has kept things from Alyssa Wong's run. Talking about the symbiote pup in the background there, and the tone is great. This one I'm not as worried about, but I don't know. Every once in a while, I just a little am like, what were we just talking about? Sinister Sons. Like, I'm okay with old white guys writing the kids that either they wish they had or they wish they had been. I think 2 14-year-olds is totally cool for an old white guy to write, regardless of the situation. That's totally fine. Cody Ziegler, I'm not like super worried about him writing Ellie, but like also I would maybe love, again, for a woman or somebody who has kind of had that a little more experience with being a young girl to get some time on that. Mostly just because we don't have enough of it. And with Spider-Girl, I would kick that into overdrive and say that I simply do not want that writer writing young girls as much as possible. I would just like to leave it alone. I will give that writer credit. After she languished for too long, he gave my girl Mayday one of her best modern stories and was one of few people to ever write her. He killed. Well, it wasn't one of her best stories. It was one
I'm sure. I more meant she's your girl. I thought she was our girl, but
our girl. Yeah, I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking for myself. He's out. He took the sideways elevator. He's gone.
I guess the chair doesn't go further down.
No, sir. I don't want that writer writing Spider-Girl, and I particularly don't want it when Spider-Boy is not blowing any minds, not winning any hearts. I chose
Or Eisner's.
Oh, truly. I chose this cover because I wanted to feature Spider-Girl, but I will say the alternate cover for this is Spider-Boy and Daredevil.
DD.
So I don't know if I want the writer writing Daredevil either, but we will be getting that. And who knows? Maybe that's a thing.
Well, other things do include at this time TVA #1 and Ultimate Universe 1 Year In #1. I just want to say these are both event books of very different kinds. TVA #1 feels like a manipulation of the interest in Marvel TV, but I'm not getting what I see here. I'm not really getting these characters doing these things. Some facsimile, but that's not going to be Captain Carter as Captain Carter. That's not going to be Sylvie. That's not going to be, so many of these characters. B-15.
Ouroboros. The only person who will be recognizably themselves is Gwen.
Yeah.
Because she's a comic character. Did we establish if that's Gambit or not?
And yeah, is that Gambit from for this past film? Vaguely?
I don't think it'll be Gambit from the film, but maybe
it's meant to be Gambit
idea.
from, because otherwise why is Gambit hanging around the TVA?
Yeah.
I wonder if he's like Gambit from X-Men 97. I don't know.
Oh, it is Gambit. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. It's that is a tough thing. Like, the reverse always seems to work. If you pull a comic character and put them on screen, there's a thing where you're like, oh, it's my girl, but she's on screen now. Like, it's a little bit different. She fits a little differently. She's not quite... Elizabeth Olsen is not quite the woman who said no more mutants in 2005.
Right.
But when you take a character that was introduced on screen, and especially, like, is beloved... When they get into comics, you just can hear the writer's voice oozing all over them in a way where they're no longer quite themselves. Because in the show, they're so rarely doing expository dialogue the way you do in comics. And just B-15 is not going to sound like herself. Sylvie's not going to sound like herself. It's no writer's fault, but it sometimes is a little bit like, ooh, I can't quite be the most jazzed I've ever been about it. But I do think this is cool. I sort of wish this had come last year after Loki 2. Even earlier. But I think it's cool now. I don't know.
I'll be fine with or without this. What I'm maybe a little bit more fascinated by is Dennis Camp being the writer on Ultimate Universe 1 Year In.
Yeah.
I don't know if Hickman has bigger, better things to deal with, but this does feel a little maybe pulling the big guns from the book. And how is Dennis Camp going to become the big guns if you don't put him on the big book? But, it does feel like Hickman was taken off of this universe and is staying on one title, which is a thing he does. See X-Men.
I do wonder. We have no information. I'm curious. I would love to believe that it was, he said, no, let somebody else do it. If we're making a whole viable universe, I can't always be me doing the architectural work. Let somebody else do it. But there's another very plausible thing where it was just I don't know, this is too chaotic. You're taking too long on the scripts. We want you on this other project that we're going to screw up. So we'll have somebody else do it. This is fine. We knew this was something like this was probably going to come because it's a real-time universe and we're on a 2-year countdown. So doing a halfway there thing makes plenty of sense. We'll see what happens when we read it.
A moment ago, you said give the screw up the other book, and I want to focus on half of that. I guess I'll go with other book. So Jerry Duggan is getting West Coast Avengers, and weak comic care. I actually love West Coast Avengers. I love most of this team. I love the way it looks like it maybe even grows out of the tail end of his X-Men in a cool, exciting way. Is that Firestar up there?
Yes.
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
so exciting.
Tony said at the end of Iron Man, I'm going to go restart the West Coast Avengers. He said it like as a joke, but now we know why.
I just don't fucking care about this era anymore. And here's why. Because this is going to be Jason Aaron slowly dying his Thor death. And then Torun Grunbeck coming on and doing a brilliant job heralding in her era, and then her leaving to do her own thing, doing Carnage. And like, I just feel like there's nothing I'm going to get from West Coast Avengers that is going to move the needle. This is very clearly the tail end of an era that gets... This is... I don't know. We found a way to do the living death Claremont retirement to young people now. And it's, well, it's got a painted cover.
It do have a painted cover. I kind of feel the same way. I wish that I felt like this was ushering in a new era of Avengers where you would have East Coast team. It's not like I'm like, Duggan shouldn't get this. Duggan shouldn't be writing this book. I actually think this is a great place to put him. Again, these are all avowed heterosexuals. These are old, boring people.
I see boobs.
Yeah, there's boobies. We've got a villain turned hero for some reason that makes no sense to me, but we're just going to roll with it. I am a huge fan of the 90s West Coast Avengers. The aesthetic of that book was a huge reason I got into comics. Wanda in like workout clothes as her superhero outfit for not just a few issues. Amazing.
Deanna Troy.
Her cocktail dress era. The short hair. I mean, there's so West Coast Avengers and then Force Works after. So great. So this has a long lineage that's really cool. But like, I just know that this will not really be interfacing long term with the other stuff that's happening with the Avengers. This will not be a huge One World Under Doom stopping point, if this even still exists by the time we get to One World Under Doom. And I just am tired of doing that. I'm tired of investing in that. So I will still be reading it, but I'll immediately be ready to hear that it's just 5 issues and then done.
I don't think there's really anything left to get too excited about here at the Marvel announcements. Were there any other comic things you wanted to get in there before we move past them?
No, I did the schedule and they did mention a couple of Infinity books. And just they're fine. They're all cute. Nothing that blew my mind, and I kind of didn't even want to give them time because Marvel doesn't really give them time. But they're there. If you're subscribing to Marvel Unlimited, read those Infinity books because you pay for them. But yeah, I mean, like, the only other thing to say is they did this huge From the Ashes panel that was really just like a really fun way to read the solicits with creators. The only thing that got announced was that Psylocke book, which was amazing. I, out of the kindness of my heart, did not do what I told Nico I wanted to do, which was just show photos of the panel. Because the panel is just all old white men and Gail Simone until Alyssa Wong is announced, and then Alyssa Wong is also there. But it just really went.
You're right. I agree. Alyssa Milano. I have to go. It's because of the joke I was about to make. Alyssa Wong really brings the melanin. I have to go.
And some of that's just unfortunate timing because there are black writers who are on the line now, but the overwhelming majority of the writers are white and men, and the head of the X office is a white man, and it's that's just, I'm just bored. I want different stuff.
And more than I even just want different stuff, where I'm really surprised is, please tell me, because maybe I'm not thinking clearly, but do you remember the last time we didn't know the next event?
For X-Men specifically?
No, for like Marvel as a company. Like,
what's One World Under Doom?
I believe that's a banner. I believe that's an era. I believe we are going into the one world under Doom, like, period, where Doom is a thing. Like, I think this is like, from what I read, I thought that the one world under Doom thing was a little bit closer to Secret Invasion, where there were just scrolls everywhere. There was an event, but this is a period of time throughout the Marvel universe where Doom is sitting high.
I think the period of time is now until One World Under Doom starts. I think One World Under Doom is an event, but regardless, you're kind of still, the point is still kind of made because
right.
We don't know even if this is an event. It's been a hot minute. We went right from, oh man, I mean, yeah, it's been a minute. And so, maybe that's okay.
I don't know. It actually makes me wonder how on their game they are, how fully aware they are of where they're going.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I'm really hoping for, though, is that, and it feels horrible to say, but Sean Colvin once said, "A legend isn't a legend until it ends." And when you think about a really beautiful era, a really beautiful run, it has to end quickly. Something that I am experiencing right now for the first time in its entirety is the entire Batman run by Morrison beginning to end. And I'm reaching the end of the return of Bruce Wayne, and I just can't imagine what Batman Incorporated is going. I've even already read Batman Incorporated, and I know what it adds, but it doesn't add anything to this narrative, this run. And there's something about a directionlessness that worries me very much. Continuing to publish stories is very exciting, but if you don't know where the universe is headed, it's not going to work. So I'm hoping that we see, because this says coming 2025. If Blood Hunt 6 or 5 or Blood Hunt Omega or whatever is the end of this era and begins this Doom era, then you're saying Doom's takeover that begins now doesn't get dealt with until January at the earliest? I don't know. This is weird. Also, this was a Marvel graphic novel in 1989 called Emperor Doom, and we've already read this, and it's actually the plot of Devil's Reign. He uses the Purple Man as like a mind control machine and takes over the world. So it's like we already done this, but I'm in. All right, I want to use this as a pivot point, if that's cool. Absolute Power. What a weird event going on over at DC. And it's leading to this Absolute era and this all in for what is it? All in. It's one of those buzzword things. Like every now and then, these two will be like, you know, what's our focus for our brand? And I'll be like, luxury. And they'll be like, what does that even mean? And you know, Absolute, all in. These are just buzzwords that aren't really leading DC anywhere, but Absolute Power is leading to the Absolute universes with Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, and Absolute Wonder Woman, which will be a part of the DC All In event, which seeks to bring back everyone under the sun. It's going to feature exciting new runs by exciting top talent. Jason Aaron writing Absolute Batman. I don't even know what to say, considering I'm pretty sure Jason Aaron's DC work leaves people about as cold as Broadway Broderick, but we will see. I don't know. I don't think I understood the DC announcements. Some of them were really cool. Some of them were so sharp and so on, and then some of them were all in, where we're all in. Okay, Luke said that to Lorelai at a diner. I don't think it means the same thing.
You get one more pop culture reference. Just for the next 5 minutes.
The proposal. So, I don't know. I'm really excited about this whole the fate of the Green Lanterns shit, that evidently this run of Green Lantern will be somehow closing out this era of Lanterndom. Great. Burn it all to the ground. I think ultimately what I've come to realize is I love the Green Lantern as a concept, but it's like the concepts are cooler than the stories. The side characters are always cooler than the main character. It's what do you do with limitlessness? You make it a cop. Oh, fucking God. That's so cool. And then once you've done 30 years of cop stories, what do you do now? If they one day said, all right, Grey's Anatomy is actually now about Grey's Anatomy Detective Agency. The only show that's ever actually done that was a detective agency, and it was Archer. And so, like, you know, other than Green Lantern Dark, which is this beautiful horror story set in a New England dark magic universe. I don't know that I was really excited about stuff coming up, but knowing that the writer of Green Lantern War Journal, Philip Kennedy Johnson, which is one of the best books on the market right now, you know, we're at issue 11 and we are 11 for 11 B+ or betters. It's just tough. I don't know. And then lastly, just real quick, Boop, JSA coming back with Mark Waid and Dan Mora. So those of you who think Claus is literally daddy, Alan Scott is about to be your daddy. And it will also feature, oh God, I can't think of what their name is. But they're the replacements. Infinity Inc. It's Infinity Inc., who are the children of the original JSA from Earth 2, who came over post-crisis, featuring my girl, my wife, the hottest green chick to ever exist in comics, Jade. Okay, please, anybody talk about DC other than me, for the love of God.
Muted.
You said
I thought you were just punking me for a second.
No. You said the biggest thing, which is just like, I don't really know that I got the announcement. I don't really know that I understood it. And like, I'm kind of glad that you said that, because for me, I'm still learning my DC ropes. What I will say is much smaller impression made than Marvel, but it feels like their fans were a lot more satisfied and kind of felt more solid about the direction and the energy. I mean, both from, you know, the comics and the multimedia stuff. It really does feel like people are excited for this era of what's coming up for DC Studios in a way that, you know, I'm not seeing as much excitement for the Marvel stuff.
You know, I do just want to say, I really hear you, but I wonder how much we exist in our own vacuums, because overall, worldwide, from my experience, my overall looking, the reaction to Robert Downey Jr. has been pretty extraordinary and positive, with the exception of like What Culture calling it the dumbest thing that Marvel's ever done. And I just want to say, What Culture, looking right at you, bring me on, because the fact that none of your comic videos seem to be vetted past a base Wikipedia level means that I don't really care your opinion on why this is the dumbest thing ever, because you have yet to get an X-Men character's backstory right beyond 2 sentences. So the AI bot writing for CBR now, and the algorithm that is taking care of everything that Screen Rant thinks, I am not worried about your opinions. I am worried about the fans that I see on Twitter that are like, I don't know, I'm kind of confused. Why would you do this? That was a sacred character. That I worry about.
My thing is always, I feel like there is a root in the fandom that is really important. There's a lot of things where it's just like, it's, even if the fans really didn't like it, if like the hardcore fans, the online fans, the community doesn't like it, that doesn't account for the millions of people that go see the thing casually and really enjoy it. But I still always pay attention to it, not as a way of being like, well, this portends the end, but because sometimes you require those people to act as kind of a street team and word of mouth for certain ideas and certain, moves that companies make. And if they feel really positive about it, that's going to plant the seed and start the buzz generating. And if they don't, you can often find that the thing doesn't get off the ground. And I feel like DC is a really good example where the enthusiasm, particularly for DC Studios stuff, I think could lead to a really good next few years for them. I don't think the lack of enthusiasm by Marvel fandom for the Russos and RDJ decision will lead to these movies flopping. I don't think they are indicative of the fact that they're not going to do well, but I could see them being indicative of the fact that they don't do as well as maybe they could have done.
Or just how jaded the audience is to start. I get that.
Yeah.
Well, and now I want to ask you a couple of questions because we've been covering most of the Green Lantern books, and I know we're going to cover War Journal before it ends because there's very few characters quite as amazing as Jon Stewart, as what he's able to, his contributions to the Green Lantern mythos are so significant. He was a Dark Star. We're seeing the return of the Dark Stars in the next couple of months. They announced that here. Although if you've been reading War Journal, you know that the Dark Stars are in the background with the Revenant Queen. This is one of the hottest images of Hal Jordan ever drawn by any human ever. Unbelievable. It looks like he's flying above Oz, and so infrequently does Oa seem magical. It always seems so scientific, because it is. I mean, it's literally the idea that they were going to create science that seemed magical to defeat magic. Like, that was their whole purpose as the Guardians. This is fulfilling for me, because they gave us no Batman announcements other than there is an exciting new Batman editor. I want to make sure I have his name. New Batman editor. They just announced it is want to get it right. Is going to be Rob Levin. Rob Levin was mentioned during the Jim Lee and Friends panel at Comic-Con. He has worked at DC from 2016 to 2019. He did work at 3 Moons, 3 Worlds, which I think is so exciting. I'm sorry, 3 Worlds, 3 Moons, which is so exciting. That's the Substack that Hickman runs. And he will be taking over for Ben Abernathy. One of the things I think is that Batman is kind of on top. You don't put somebody in the position on top who's not going to keep running that ball. So with so little Batman news to worry about plot-wise, having some Green Lantern plot was kind of exciting. They say this is the ultimate fate of the Corps. Obviously, it'll go back in 10 years. But I really hope you're right, TK. I really hope this births the Color Peace Corps. And I wouldn't hate if they could all switch Lantern ring colors. But like everybody has 2 or 3. I think I'm just pitching mood rings, but I don't really have anything else for DC. I just want to say thank you for this journey. Thank you for coming on and exploring what makes DC so cool. It's rarely Green Lantern, but it's almost always the spirit of loving parents and children that DC carries that Marvel just struggles with. Marvel's really obsessed with loving the world around you. They have trouble with loving your children, and DC does a better job with kids than Marvel does.
I get that.
Speaking of people who love their kids, their grandkids, and more, Kevo, it's a really exciting time to play Star Trek video games because I feel like some new alien species might be introduced. But before we can even get to that, I do believe that you ran some unforgettable, amazing episodes here on this show, live reacting to the new season of Doctor Who. From there, we have covered so much incredible Doctor Who this season. But obviously, I realize now that I just did that thing that lady did on the news that time where she said, I'm going to my niece's surprise party. Oops. So, Keva, what show was I talking about? Take it away.
Yes, there was. I want to say there was exciting news from Doctor Who this year. There really wasn't. Their presence was felt, and it was cute. This booth that had the giant setup of the TARDIS was really amazing. You could get picture and video taken there, and that was cool. But like the news from the panel this year was not really news. It was unfortunately mostly just confirming things that we already knew. We already knew that one of the stars from Bridgerton was going to be the companion this year at Christmas. It had been rumored for some time. And we already knew about this really weird unit spin-off that we are going to be getting called The War Between the Land and Sea. when people first started hearing there's going to be a Sea Devil spinoff, they were like, that's a joke. That has to literally be a joke. There's no way. And instead, it is exactly even the title that was speculated. It has Kate Stewart, like was speculated. What's interesting is it was speculated that it would have Martha Jones, and instead it has the woman who plays her sister, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who we love from Loki. It also has former Doctor Who actor Russell Tovey, and both are confirmed to be playing different characters. So along the same lines of that RDJ news,
Yeah.
we have an actor or two from 15 years ago coming back playing a completely different character. And much like TK feels about that, I don't like this. A friend pointed out to me, though, they might be playing Sea Devils. If they're playing Sea Devils and we have really strong, powerful actors who get to play roles in prosthetics that normally aren't played by these level of actors, and to emphasize those characters as sympathetic, yeah, sure, I'd love that. I always love when characters are able to play other characters in prosthetics, but I loved these characters, and they were left in a place where they could return. And we already have the character of Mundy Flynn from Boom, this past season of Doctor Who. Her actor is returning next year, and that is also confirmed. Completely new character named Belinda. In the next season.
Completely new from her character from last season?
From Boom. Yes, it is
Eat
not...
a shoe! That's insane!
So part of me even wonders, are you telling a story with that? I don't think you are. And it's mostly just, the way I feel about it is there's so many actors out there. And if you can get these actors back, we want to see them playing the characters that we loved them originating, not someone brand new. If you have someone brand new, bring in new actors. There's about 1 million of them. So, I don't know. I'm really nervous about all this Doctor Who stuff. I feel like we ultimately got nothing.
I'm worried that RTD has face blindness now.
No, not for Russell Tovey. No way. No how.
God, how can any human being forget that beautiful face? Look how his
Yeah.
eyes slant to the side like he's a slightly sad G.I. Joe. Ugh, he's so handsome.
Yeah.
TK, does this strike you slightly different than RDJ? I mean, I understand that. I'm saying, like, at one point, the most recognizable character in the world, played by an actor who was one of the most recognizable actors in his craft, versus, the British equivalent of Disruptive's Russell Tovey.
Oh, no, he's the British Eric Dane.
I see it. Russell, to me, that one is fine, or would be fine on its own if it was happening in kind of a vacuum, because it was one small character way early on, and he's so much more famous now, and it would be so great to have him back. So yeah, recast him. Gugu, I'm not sure what's going on where she couldn't just be playing. That's one of the ones that leads me to believe that there is something going on here. If there's nothing going on, I think this is kind of lame, and I think we do have to accept at a certain point that, like, you can't just keep reusing people because you like them. And if it turns out that there's a story there, hopefully it's a good one.
Now, Kevo, in terms of what this means, that we got like no announcements involving the current cast, the current state of the show, do you feel like there is any kind of up in the air for when the show is coming back for realsies? And do you feel like the gaming announcements and some of the recent Big Finish audio announcements are kind of buying time?
I mean, I feel like so much of television is in an odd state. I think this 8-episode seasons thing is really weird. I don't think I've specifically heard confirmed definitively when season 2 is going to be happening. So that's a little weird. Like, it's in the can, or mostly in the can, but that doesn't mean it's going to be coming back May, or I would prefer sooner, but who knows? The only other exciting in any way exciting announcement that came from this SDCC is as part of the friendship panel between Alex Kurtzman and Russell T. Davis as part of the Doctor Who and Star Trek developing sort of a friendship and a partnership. It was announced that the only crossover that we are going to be getting for the time being is between the two mobile games for the shows. You know what? That is something. This is one of those cases where, again, I'm seeing so many fans being like, oh, they're not immediately announcing an amazing crossover between these two shows where the Doctor is going to materialize on Strange New Worlds. I would also have loved that. And I'm sure, I want to even confess, sure, part of me hoped that would be what it was, but there's so many steps between here and there. There's so many people need to actually show interest. People need to show that this is worth investors crossing contracts. Disney is still fully deciding how committed it wants to be to Doctor Who in its partnership ongoingly.
While Skydance has the same feelings about Paramount's previous IPs.
Yes. Strange Lower Decks is ending, so who knows what's going to be happening to this game. So I don't know. This at least was something, like I said, I saw someone comment they wish that this game wasn't so fronted by the 10th Doctor. They want to see a little bit more of Ncuti. I would also love that. I'd love to see Ncuti meet Beckett. They would have a lot of fun. But yeah, that was something at least. All the people at the friendship panel also, first of all, it was pretty well attended. Not bad audience. And everyone got a little voucher for a little fun toy surprise, a little friendship bracelet. So like, you know, turn up to these panels and do these things.
That's the answer. Turn up for what? It's this friendship bracelet.
We have a Doctor Who Star Trek panel at FlameCon next month, and guys, I don't plan on having toy surprises for you. I'm sorry.
Turn up for those. We won't have them.
I promise if I did, it would probably not be a better caliber than this. This is a very perhaps cheap gift to give, but this is what people who go to a panel like this love, and you know it is. So that's really cute.
I'm excited. You know, they made some other really cool Star Trek announcements this weekend that have me all kinds of gay balls. Evidently, they're in the earliest stages of adapting Strange New Worlds into a sellable musical. I imagine it will include additional songs. They'll probably fill it out a little bit more with a couple of additional pieces of music. They'll probably get rid of the Klingon rap number, try and make it a little bit more palatable to sell long term, because that'll age very easily out of being popular. Though, you know, there's a lot to be said about the changing shape of music and how long certain things are staying in vogue thanks to endless streaming opportunities. You know, the idea that some of our older episodes do better than some of our newer episodes some weeks throws me off. But this week alone, our 10th most downloaded episode of X is for Podcast, the original, is the first episode. So if anybody wants to go on a journey and retrace Claremont's steps from the beginning, just head back to the first episode of X is for Podcast. You're in for a really great journey, but hang into like the 200s when it gets really good and this guy comes on. That's the guy right below me. So we got that preview clip of everybody becoming Vulcan, which would work for me, but they ruined Captain Daddy's hair. And so if Pike is going to go ahead and look like he is doing the worst ever white kid and play cosplay, I am not going to get it up for him. No.
He looks like Max Headroom.
My only problem with it is the fact that it's a physical transformation. Like,
right.
It's genetically that his hair changes. If they all
for his hair.
Yeah, like if they all just had looked facially different and then their hair had been styled, then I would like it. Then I would be like, that's just a weird haircut that they have on Vulcan that, you know, Spock felt would be appropriate for Pike. But the fact that he falls
Right.
down and when he emerges, his hair is this insane flat top. It's not even a flat top. It's just we're climbing the mountain.
A slant top.
It's a slope top. The fact that that's what we're doing, I don't love it, but whatever. It's fine. It's silly and campy, and it'll be funny and fun. And
It's in part
gonna be a
because
great
you're used to
season.
cooking on a convention slope top. Oh, what is it? A convection slope top. My apologies.
Nailed it.
Fun news. I don't know who this guy is, and I don't really care that much about the fact that they're bringing in Nurse Chapel's fiance from one early episode of TOS. But doing legacy stuff is cool, including the fact that Scotty is going to be a regular in season 3. He was handsome, and I like Scotty when he's not being annoying. So he's young, so hopefully he won't be as annoying.
I'm just really hoping that Nurse Chapel Rowan performs Pink Pony Space Club this
She
time.
would.
The
This
Dabo
Chapel
girls come out.
absolutely would. Ooh. Segue, because of what your mom said earlier, unless anyone has anything more on Strange New Worlds news. Unfortunately, obviously not a lot of news for Lower Decks. The panel was really lovely. The crowd led a chant of Lower Decks. That was really cool. There was an awesome trailer based on the trailer for the 6th Star Trek film. But more excitingly, not only is it fully confirmed that Tawny Newsome is going to be a writer on Starfleet Academy.
Wait, was that Haunted Mansion guy?
I don't remember. I'd have to look. It's Dear White People. I was not prepared for that interruption. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's totally cool. Well, they have a show together, so that's exciting.
Yes,
it
it
is
is.
going to it is going to be what is being, well, there you go. It's being dubbed the first ever live action comedy series. It sounds like it is going to be in mockumentary style about a Federation Outlander resort that finds out that all of their daily exploits are essentially being broadcast as entertainment to the rest of the quadrant. So it sounds a little like The Office. It sounds a little bit like the Lower Decks that you guys love with Kate from The Traitors. It sounds like a lot of fun things. And so I love that Tawny Newsome seems to be one of the first actors of the new generation of Star Trek to be diving headfirst into all of the production stuff, the way that Frakes does. She is amazing. She is the future of Star Trek. So this is very exciting.
Why can I not place Balana's real name? Because I know she also did a bunch of directing.
Yeah, Paris directed. A lot of people have really done a lot of really awesome work behind the scenes. So that's really cool.
I think the other big Star Trek thing that caught my ear from this round of convention announcements is with the continuation of Strange New Worlds being season 3 with a guaranteed 4, Star Trek sitcom coming up, the upcoming Unreal guest star list for the Starfleet Academy. I can't help but realize they didn't announce a new flagship show.
I think they're thinking of Strange New Worlds as the flagship, but I feel like that's a mistake because it's just a prequel, and I don't think it can. Yeah,
I think Starfleet Academy is the flagship show,
but it's the kids show.
Well, yeah, but I don't know.
Ollie Hunter looks like Paul Giamatti in really good drag.
We're gonna have to see, and maybe this is just a little while where we don't have one, and maybe that's a good thing.
I'm here for it. I also love the diversity among this cast. It's really quite lovely to see that they are upholding the longstanding traditions of Star Trek, pushing boundaries with what we can do with a cast of characters.
Kurtzman said at the panel when asked, we are going to see some deaf representation on Starfleet Academy, which is really awesome to see, not hear. But obviously, this guest list Mary Wiseman is kind of, we had felt from that episode of season 4 in the first place, felt like the prototype for Starfleet Academy being a show. So her being on this felt like a no-brainer. Jet Reno felt like a no-brainer because she is so awesome and has so much to offer. Admiral Vance, obviously the Admiral. I hope that we see President Ryland. I hope that we see lots of other people. The shock of all shocks is confirmed as, I believe specifically the Doctor is Robert Picardo. And this is going to be very interesting. I feel like he has become the Richard Belzer of the Star Trek franchise, where he has now appeared across the most. I just remembered he's in First Contact. So yeah, he has appeared across, I think, the most projects in the Star Trek franchise. And this is really cool. And this tells me that they are truly thinking about making sure to tie things into the legacy and the history of this world in fun ways.
I'm thrilled. I love this cast. I love this crew. TK, do you have anything you want to add to the Star Trek discussion? Or are you just here for the ride?
I'm basically just here for the ride. Like I said, I do think this is probably the flagship show for a little bit. But also, not that this is the flagship show, but we did get a Section 31 trailer.
Thank you for reminding me. It's
Yeah.
basically half Harriet the Spy, half Now You See Me.
Sure.
Yes.
100%. I think it looks really cool and fun. I will totally wait and see. I'm reserving all judgment, but I love Michelle Yeoh so much, and it's gonna be a blast.
Thank you for reminding me about this. The only thing I thought did not work for me about this trailer was I thought the score was hellacious. The scoring on this trailer was really cool, but for something that wasn't this trailer, maybe even this project, but like it
I think it was a bit ambitious to use Beyonce's Formation. I get what they were going for. It's a little too late for that, not even for a Beyonce. Like, it's not that you can't use a Beyonce song. We're like 2 albums later at this point.
You could have gotten away with like a really weird remix of Break My Soul in like a really dramatic way.
Yeah. It just like, it felt like they really wanted to underscore what a bad bitch she is. And I think you guys got a little nervous and you freaked out and tried a little too hard. Michelle Yeoh just showing up on screen underscores that point perfectly.
Yes.
And then, a bad beat, just a pounding beat is all you need. She'll take care of the rest. In that particular outfit, she's fine. She's good to go. So don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. Like Coco Chanel said, take one thing off before you leave the house. Pull one item off that score before you put it onto the trailer.
But if you're quoting Coco Chanel, leave out all the weird Heil stuff.
I feel like that is great advice in general, though, for us to be taking into account. Try not to sweat it. Things will happen. We'll see how it turns out.
You could walk away from the role of a lifetime and eventually come back and be playing the Wizard of Emerald City, and it'll just be fine. Although I do want to say, TK, I feel like you could pull off an all one color suit and shawl combo. I really feel like you could find the right shade of gray or tan for it. All said and done, the thing that I walked away from this SDCC thinking is, the movies are back. I do feel like they are trying to remind us that you can make a big event film. One of the things that we have talked a lot about in the last couple of years is the everyday magic of being alive. Superhero films are compelled to do more emotionally aware things because of films like Boyhood and other things that 10 years ago influenced the cinematic stratosphere, and now the people coming into directing are influenced by art films and superhero films. We live in a world where you can both be influenced by Hurt Locker and The Dark Knight, and this dichotomy is creating creators like Justin Simien, who I really do think that Haunted Mansion is not quite the movie it should be, but the fact that it's shown up on at least 10 future classic lists for 2023 just makes my heart pound. So happy about it. Yes, we are trying to move back to the idea of being able to do something big, because during the age of COVID, it was about celebrating little victories. And when the big victories happened, it was beautiful. But I think we saw what an Oppenheimer can do, what a Barbie can do. And we want it again. We want nothing hurt the world harder than Cowboy Carter not being the sales force that everybody thought it might be. But then you've got this ridiculous Taylor Swift record-breaking thing with Dead Poets collection album, whatever. And what we're faced with is, just because movies can't be what they used to be doesn't mean they can't be something. SDCC with movies, with comics, I believe we're trying to move somewhere better. Growing pains are a part of getting bigger. Comics and movies want to get bigger than they've been. Not necessarily more fans, not necessarily more money, but a bigger idea. And I'm here for it. How about you guys?
I'll remain cynical. I do agree that like movies are not over. Movies are moving closer to theater, towards theater, not even closer to it, but towards theater. And that's fine. Movies are definitely not over. Movies are changing and growing and evolving, and I love that. I'm a little tired of the cons. I'm a little tired of the panels and the hype. I think a lot is happening and they don't really have it. And that's just me, but I stay rooting for all of the great creative minds, and I stay open-minded even when there's things I don't like, and I await.
For a guy who calls himself a cynic, you give a lot of things a B- minimum.
Yeah, that's I do think I'm a little bit cynical, but I also think I am I'm almost 40 at this point. I've realized that like it does no good to wallow in the cynicism and just hate on shit. So, we'll see.
The kindly cynic.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
John Lovitz made an entire excellent animated series about that concept.
Yeah, there you go. I love that show. Great theme song.
Kevo, SDCC represents the West Coast, the Adore Delano to our Bianca Del Rio of NYCC, and I feel like you fell deeper in love with me when you went to your first comic convention. And we got to be at the debut of The Defenders, the premiere of Jessica Jones, the premiere of Daredevil. We got to be a part of so many amazing things. We've yet to do SDCC. No street cred there, no clout. But what we do have is the emotional attachment, like the almost like clairvoyant psychometry of experiencing the sensorial emotion of SDCC. What was your big takeaway this past year? Are the movies back, or are you just waiting for the Days of Thunder?
It's hard for me to say. Something that Tori and I were talking about is there's been this imbalance between SDCC and NYCC that has been up and down over the last 15 years. And so it is now hard for me to say how I feel at the end of that until I get through NYCC and see, did they save anything? We know they probably saved at least something for, there's D23 Expo next month, I think. They usually save something for that.
Oh, because that's tied to Disney Investors Day. That's one of those really big moments. Great point, Kevo. Thanks for saying D23.
So that is something that is on my mind about this. Doctor Who was kind of a letdown because I felt like we got nothing. Marvel was okay because I feel like they didn't overpromise and still delivered something pretty big that, however controversial, was a big pop on top of what had been kind of announced to be a mediocre panel. So yeah, I think once we get this balance between these combating conventions, I think that is going to be a huge factor. Speaking of conventions and exciting things and things coming up, we here at X's for Show have an awesome appearance coming up next month at the convention of FlameCon. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be showing on the floor, and we also have 2 awesome panels. On Saturday, we are going to be celebrating queer visibility and youth entertainment, talking about all sorts of stuff like High School Musical series and Fraggle Rock and probably Heartstopper. I know I can't avoid it any longer. So yeah, that's going to be awesome. And then Sunday, as I mentioned earlier, we have Diamonds Are Forever, 60 years of boundary pushing science fiction with Doctor Who and Star Trek. So we have some awesome guests, and we have some really fun things to say, and that is going to be very exciting.
I can't wait. This has been such a great episode. We kind of threw this together yesterday. Saturday was just so full of announcements after a Friday and Thursday, so full of announcements. I can't wait to come back. I don't think we got anything before maybe Comics Wednesday if we want to do them. This weekend will be drag brunching. And then we got more coming your way. Can't wait. Very excited. Good
All
time.
brunch, a brunch ball. Exciting.
Oh, a brunch ball. That is
dressed up.
let's all right, I'm calling it. I'm getting all dapper for Sunday. So
Show up.
everybody show up in your church clothes, right? But it should be like the Church of the Poison Mind, not like one of those like, organized religion churches. Anyway, you can check the show out at X's for Show. You can check out its partner podcast feed at X's for Podcast. We love you guys. We think you are incredible. Like, comment, and subscribe. We are here for you guys. Reach out. We want to do for you what you do for us, which is make us feel safe, whole, and complete. Keva, where can everybody find you online between feeling like a safe hole?
Top, thank you. You can find me at Kevo Really. That's KEVOREALLY. TK, where can the folks who don't find you?
You can find me at TK Elemental. Nico, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me and my music at Nico Action and Nico Action Music. That's NICOACTION or NICOACTIONMUSIC. You can, of course, check out the show, X's for Show, X's for Podcast. These two crazy guys at their locations. Regular folks like Jonah, Tori, Jake, thank you so much for all of your contributions. Can't wait to see you guys soon. Here is to another 500 episodes of X's for Podcast. 3 things you guys can do for us: like, comment, subscribe. 3 things you guys can do for yourselves. Number 1, please stay safe. It's a crazy world out there. Number 2, please be brave. We love who you are and we want to see it shine. But while we're talking about you, 3 things you guys can do for yourselves. Wait, no, these are the 3 things. Number 3 thing you can do for yourself. You guys can stay safe and evolve daily. God, I just want to get off air. Stay safe, be brave, evolve daily. Let the music play.
At least you don't live with it.